Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, those chapters are Jeremiah 5 and 6. Now I'm at my very last travelator, hopefully on my way home, at my very last airport. This is Oliver Tambo Airport, and a fascinating place to be dealing with the subject of crossroads, ancient paths and streets. So Jeremiah 5 starts by saying, go into the streets and have a look if you can find one righteous person. If you can find a righteous person, then I'm going to relent and I won't bring judgment on the land. And of course, he goes on to say, listen, I gave them warnings. I disciplined them and they didn't repent. In fact, they hardened their hearts. And then I spoke to their leaders, thinking their leaders would at least make an adjustment. They didn't either. And so he says, so this is what's going to happen. There's going to be a wolf coming out of the desert. There's going to be a lion coming out of the forest. And that judgment is coming. Now I've had to relocate my videoing to the showers here at the airport because it was attracting too much attention to the security personnel. I don't know what they thought I was up to down there. But, when you look at God's question, if there is only one person, I'll spare the judgment, you realize that we could so easily have been in that procession. Because Romans 3 tells us that we've all fallen short of the glory of God, that there's not one of us that are righteous. And so if Jesus hadn't come, and in Romans chapter 3 it says that now there's a righteousness that is given through faith in Jesus Christ to those who believe. So the reality is, if he hadn't come, we too would be lined up together with the Israelites, ready for that lion and that bear, which really represents the invasion of Babylon. And I don't know about you, but I'm hugely grateful that we have now a righteousness that's not our own, it's a righteousness that's given to us. Now, the next chapter has a series of warnings, and he basically says, sound the trumpet, Jerusalem, judgment is coming. There are going to be siege ramps built up against you. He even explains how this is going to happen. And then he says this is what you need to do. He says what you need to do. Stand at the crossroads and look and ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. Isn't that a beautiful turn of phrase? Stand at the crossroads. He sets before you life and death, and he says, choose life. And then he says, ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in that. So what are the ancient paths? Well, the ancient ways of God are that of covenant. In other words, he makes a covenant with his people. So in other words, he says, I won't leave you, I won't forsake you. The ancient paths are that of grace. You don't deserve it, but God's kindness comes after you. The ancient paths are you lean not on your own understanding, but on him. You grab hold of his word, and that's what I get out of this. As I stand at the crossroads of life, I say, God, give me your ancient word. The one that tells me that I don't deserve it, but I'm going to get your favor. If I put my life into your hands and I thrust my future into your hands. So we're asking for God's grace in our marriages, in our sexuality, in our identity, in our parenting, in our work, in our church life. We are covenantal people. That's the ancient path. We're not cutting our own path. We're becoming under the covenant that Jesus has made with the Father. That's the old covenant pointing toward the new. And as we live in this place, totally undeserving, we know that he fights for us, he stands for us, he backs us.